said, there's no need. Okay, let me start with a question. What do you think is the difference between Yogi Ramsuratkumar and ourselves? Why is Yogi Ramsuratkumar Yogi Ramsuratkumar? And why are you you? Why are we we? What do you think is the difference? Why? I asked Yogi Ramsuratkumar the same question. So I would like you to answer. Think. What makes the difference?
Because we have many different ideas about ourselves, wrong ideas, delusions. And Yogi Ramsuratkumar, he didn't have this.
He doesn't have any delusions.
Yes.
He's above Maya.
He's forgot himself.
He's above all illusions. So why are we in illusions?
Because we conditioned from childhood like this.
Because we believe in our conditions.
Why?
So much.
Why are we caught in this Maya, in the illusions of the world?
Because
See, it's not that you want to desire something, so you desire. The desire arises very naturally, you merely recognize it. All that we do is only recognize. Nothing is starting from your thinking. The brain recognizes after the thought is pushed into our consciousness from the divine. This is what is happening. But we do not know that. The minute we recognize, we immediately own it up. We say, oh, it's my thought. If we know that it's being pushed into our localized consciousness, and we merely recognize that, it would be a mere thought. But we add my to that. It's my thought. So my thought becomes my word, and my word becomes my action. But in truth, every thought, springs from the consciousness within, from the divine. So from the pure consciousness, a thought is projected into the localized consciousness, the individual consciousness, and the brain recognizes with intelligence. The intelligence then discriminates. The intelligence recognizes, and then what? It adds. The mind will go with the intelligence, and the mind will make a mess of it. Whereas in Yogi Ramsuratkumar, thoughts would be projected, but there is no localization of it. The thoughts spring from the divine consciousness and it disappears into that. It comes like the traffic on the road. They come and go, they come and go. So the thoughts also, the traffic of thoughts. And they become aware, and the divine itself will go into action if it is necessary for the cosmos. So it's all spontaneous. It happens very spontaneously. They are aware. They are aware the thoughts come from the consciousness, from the divine within. And they keep it that way. Whereas the thoughts come into our consciousness, we own it up. We immediately say, it's my thought, my desire, and you get attached to it. Otherwise, you could also watch the thought, and then you just be indifferent to it. The thought sometimes materializes, the thought doesn't materialize.
So what is mind? What is mind?
The mind is only a bundle of thoughts. The bundle of recognized thoughts. There are thoughts even, see, Raman Maharishi had thoughts, otherwise he would not have spoken, he would not have written. For speaking and writing, the brain has to recognize, and though the thoughts must have come. So it's not as though they don't have thoughts. Everybody, the thought is a very natural phenomenon. But a reaction to a thought. The ego reacts to a thought. Where there is no ego, there is no reaction to the thought. The thought comes and goes. Thought comes and goes. Whereas what we do, we react to it, we multiply the thoughts. And we own up. And we suffer.
The whole sadhana is to come out of that.
The whole sadhana is to watch the thought and be indifferent to it.
Do not take it personal.
You, the thought. The thought is a thought because it's very nature. The consciousness moves and it comes out like the whole world, the whole creation has come out of a pure consciousness. Like you see, some of those people materializing things, they materialize vibhuti. There's a man who came here some time back and he said, there's nothing, and he said like this, and then there was a Rudraksh. When the pure consciousness does this, galaxies come out, planets come out, the whole cosmos comes out with infinite details. A supercomputer comes out of this pure consciousness. So imagine the immensity of the power it has, the power of its thought. A thought, let there be, you remember in the Bible, they say let there be, God said in the old Bible, Old Testament, God said, let there be light. And the light was. And what was the next one? Let there be something. I don't remember, I remember only that. Because in Sudama, the current went off one day. The whole place, the Ramanagar, was plunged into darkness. And then I said, Bhagavan, we can't even see where, we don't know where we are. So after a few minutes, I said, Bhagavan, what is this? How do I take that? Devaki, let there be light. And the light came immediately, within a second. Before he completed the sentence, the lights came, flooding the whole Ramanagar, not just Sudama. So that's it. A thought, as soon as a thought comes, if there is a necessity for the situation or for the world, immediately it materializes for them. Whereas no matter how much we pray and pray and pray and pray, it may not materialize. Such is the power of our thoughts. Why? Because every thought, the mind is so scattered. They say what you think, that you become, that you are. So a man who works slogs in an office all through the day, thinking of money, 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 he is doing meditation because he doesn't move out of the chair. He sits there for hours together, working this plan, that plan, so that he gets higher rate of interest. And so, the solutions, they call it, the business solutions. And he's thinking of money, 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 and he's so much concentration, he works. So he does meditation, he sits in an asana. The asana is there, and he is sitting for hours, but it is not God he thinks of, he's thinking of money. So what happens? He thinks of crooked ways of earning money, how to multiply money, let me do this, let me manipulate this, monitor this, manipulate this, at the risk of even one's own life. And what do you get? You may accumulate so much wealth, and before you knew, you meet with an accident and you're gone. So the meditation is going on for everybody. And we sit in an asana even without moving. So asana is there, meditation is there, but the object of meditation differs. And so what happens, a man who thinks of money all the time, the money is Maya. So his thought doesn't gather power. It's only when you think of the divine, your thought becomes powerful. Because God is higher power. So every thought gathers power. Every thought of the divine. It purifies. In a purified mind, there will be no desires. And the less the number of desires. Somebody asked you, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, what is the distance between you and God? He said, you list out all your desires. That is the distance between you and God. Every desire for any worldly thing it widens the distance between you and God. And that's why people say that simple living, high thinking. The ancient rishis, they lived in the forest, they lived in the huts, they lived with nature, and the sciences evolved out of them. How to make a plane, they had all the details. 5,000 years back, they had complete knowledge of every branch. Simple living, high thinking. The truths revealed themselves to them. It's not that they had to think about it, work out solutions. They just stood revealed to them, and they merely registered. They had tapas. So they were drashtas. They saw because of their purity. So here, when we are so much attached to the world, when our thought, when our mind is scattered over so many worldly things, then the thought loses its power. We have Sahasranama. We think of Vishnu, and Vishnu has 1,000 names. So this doing Sahasranama, doing 1,000 names in each Hindu household is a must, because people don't do it. We don't do any must, but it's a must. They say if you chant 1,000 namas of Vishnu, at least 1 or 2 namas you would say with your entire being, and that will bear fruit. Because the mind wants varieties. Have you noticed? After you use a dress for some time, you say, oh, let me have a new one. A pair of chappals, you want a new one after some time. We want varieties in life. Something new all the time. And the mind feels a joy in newness. But when you give up thinking about these things, there is newness, there is freshness, there is joy in every thought that comes to you. Every moment is fresh and new. But we don't know that. We are only familiar with the worldly things, so the mind goes only after them, and in doing so, we lose the strength of mind, the power of thought. So now, Yogi Ramsuratkumar, the difference between Yogi Ramsuratkumar and us, and the difference between Raman Maharishi and us, the difference between any Mahatma and us is that our mind is scattered over 1,000 things, desire after desire after desire. Every desire weakens your mind. And every desire makes you more selfish. And to drop desire, you have to think of God. That is why repetition. When you keep on repeating something, the repetition of the God thought, the mind becomes used to one thought. So the mind doesn't have many thoughts. You slowly move from the many to the one. So that is why chanting the name is also welcome, because it's a repetition of the God thought. Because the name is the named. So ultimately the difference between a Mahatma and us is that it is the ego in us that keeps on multiplying our desires, multiplying our thoughts, and we get involved with the thoughts. So when we get involved with the thoughts, we wound them up, and when we wound them up, we have to face the consequences, be it good or bad. We'll have to go through the consequences. Whereas they are indifferent to thoughts, the thoughts come, they get fear, they get even jealousy. When Ramakrishna Paramahamsa would be sitting there with a box full of jalebis, a sweet, and a 5-year-old boy would walk in, immediately Ramakrishna will keep this away, and then he wouldn't turn to the child for fear. Suddenly this fear would come like a 5-year-old boy. He would just keep it aside and say, so that this fellow would take it otherwise. But that fear would last only for a fraction of a second. That's the difference between them and us. The same thoughts, fear. Mataji Krishna Bai, she was afraid to go to the toilet, which was at a distance. So she always had to take somebody with her. She says, why do you think? Have we grown horns? No. We live with the same feelings. When somebody suffers, you feel love. And when something is going to happen, you feel the fear. All to say, the entire spectrum of feelings they also go through, but they don't last. They don't make any deep impression on them. They are like passers-by. They just pass by. For a second, see Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, when somebody died, his heart would squeeze. He would feel as though somebody was squeezing his heart. And he would cry so much. And within minutes, he would start laughing. Laughter, laughter, laughter. So how would you describe these people? So Yogi Ramsuratkumar, as I saw him, and at very close quarters when I was serving, was so unpredictable. Because he never wound up. He had no character as such, like we have all this character, that character we say, but you could never refer to him as character. He had no character. In the sense, he had no fixed thoughts. Any thought would come to him and he would just leave there. It is passerby. He never held on to any thoughts, any particular thoughts. And I had seen him, he would be helping somebody, he would help and help. And suppose the help did not bear fruit, he would not sit and cry. Oh, I see. Okay, Father's will. And he would go on. He would put his entire being into helping, but it did not matter to him if the result went against. He said he was doing a tremendous cosmic work. He said, Father runs the whole cosmos, and in the cosmos, everything is linked to everything else. It's all one being, one mind. It's samashti, we say. Samashti is all the minds put together is one huge mind. Hiranyagarbha. So one huge mind. And so he said, suppose you pull something from the side, everything else gets pulled. He would often quote this, when you step on a blade of grass, a distant star trembles. It's that connected everything is. And therefore, when these people come on the scene and they try to bring about changes in the world, it takes time. There are so many factors they have to take care of, and it may take a little time sometimes. In fact, there's a saying written there. In this cosmos, everything is linked. So there are so many factors involved in any work, and so the difficulties. I had seen him struggle hard. It was not as though he just raised his hand and things happened. Vibhuti would come, maybe a murti would come. But when you try to effect changes in the whole cosmos, it's hard work. Because the evil is also equally strong. You know how powerful Maya is? You take one resolution and start practicing, then you know how powerful Maya is. Maya is more powerful than God. At least it would seem so for the practitioners. So he was doing tremendous cosmic work, and if he had wanted, thousands of people would have followed him. He could have created this mansion even then. But he preferred to be hidden from people. He lived under a tree for 17 years and he did his spiritual ministry, depending only on chance meal. And for sleeping, he would walk all the way to the town and sleep outside those vessel shops. There would be planks there outside the shops, and he would just lie down, completely exposed to the world. As I said yesterday, whenever a good force begins to exercise power, it provokes some negative forces as well. I don't know why, but it happens always. And so, when Yogiji came down to the town and then he would lay down, and these miscreants, the local thugs, would be busy working. They would come and throw hot chili powder on his face and run away. And when he woke up in the morning, there would be chili powder getting into his eyes. You can imagine how terrible it must have been. They have the same body as you and me. They have the same pain. Don't ever think that Raman Maharishi had no pain. But they can detach their mind from the body, withdraw the mind inside if they so choose. That's all the difference. Raman Maharishi winced when the pain came. For 2 operations, he merely watched. He had withdrawn his mind. He underwent 2 operations, just watching that, without. And the 3rd, 4th, he had to take this chloroform. And he was wincing in pain. The body is body. It is matter. And therefore, these germs will start eating up. That's why they get cancer. They get cancer, or they get heart attack, or they get something else. And the body needs a reason to die. So they develop something. And of course, hand in hand, they take the sins of the people upon themselves and they have to work out those sins. So they pay for it in terms of disease and death. So Yogiji was doing a tremendous work sitting under a tree, and in the night and also in the daytime sometimes he would be walking on the road ecstatically singing Shri Rama, Jai Rama, Jai Jai Rama, and again it would provoke some negative forces, and some of those local thugs would take a truck or a car and they would try to run over. And he would be sometimes they would just beat him up to unconsciousness. He would be lying there unconscious here and there, and somebody would come and pick him up and put him somewhere and go. He told me much later, when I had come on the scene, Devaki, you cannot spend even a single day in the street like this beggar. You cannot even imagine the kind of life we have to go through living in the street. Absolutely no protection. And they wouldn't defend themselves. They would never defend, because they have come only to bless. I had seen time after time somebody coming and challenging him, abusing, with such abusive words they would challenge, and then they would go away. When they would go, turn their back to him after the abuse, he would be busy blessing